Not good to poke the
And
pot.
Etium is off to the races.
There we go. Ooh, and we get a pot lid. That's a good find for the first one.
Alright, and we're going to go ahead and get that set up with that trusty sign. To see what our tier 1 triple will be. Watch out for that spear from behind. Ooh, nice big 20 off of the drop as well. And, well, we got some magic.
Yeah, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's pretty good.
Or perhaps shake a rod at. Alright, so our uncle went over to fight Ganon with $300.
Well,
Ganon,
you know, if
Uncle used payday, it was not very effective.
I've always wanted to bribe Ganon, but oh, look at that, we got a lamp.
No dark rooms to be found this time. This is a really early lamp, which will be good considering we're going to be going through every one of those dark rooms, and that's a freaking hammer.
Ooh, that's a really nice early find. I mean, not only because you can actually damage things now, but that's a really nice find.
Then again, we are pretty much guaranteed to see the hammer come up fairly early because of just how much the hammer's needed to just do things in swordless mode.
True. Very true.
When you consider that that's our main source of damage, it's a way of getting into agate towers, you're reflecting projectiles, using... Just kind of getting around the scene general. And what do we have growing the natural habitat? Why, it's our first small key of the match.
Ah, yes, the rare metal Keyas. Fond of dark places and lush grounds.
And
I don't
that
know
is
what I was
our
going for.
first of 6 pod keys.
Now that's actually not bad.
One of the reasons they call them Old Dungeon, there's so many keys in the front and all the business in the back. You find 10 sticks hanging out in the grotto. Now, depending on how many small keys they find, it will tell them how far in the dungeon the logic expects them to potentially get when they gain access to the Palace of Darkness, or the opportunities to do the thing called that is referred to as save scumming, where you go in and burn some of your keys in a potentially non-ideal way and reset before use that hard reset to prevent a save. But we're a ways off from that. We're heading into Kakariko Village.
I'm always a fan of the wonderful hammer yump tactics and just avoiding the front door.
Definitely one that can definitely one I can agree with. Looks like Etium is hoping for a bomb drop here in the back of the tavern before going ahead and purchasing some bombs so they can clear out the bombable walls in Kakariko Village.
Yeah, nothing hurts more than having to buy these and then immediately getting like 9 bombs.
I can assure you that we are working behind the scenes to unrandomize the frame rate on Trinex's screen.
Well, you did say we were going to randomize settings.
I doubt that was not the settings that I was referring to.
It's the monkey's paw, dude. You gotta be more specific.
Wouldn't that be something else? And then we find another $300 in the chicken hut. Are you sure that old woman is only dealing in poultry?
That's a terrifying notion.
And just a piece of heart for $100 from the bottle vendor.
Definitely is an expensive date for that one.
Alright, so let's see what is in that Kakariko well, and there's a very early moon pearl. Boy, oh boy, if we find another piece of if we find a glove here, that's gonna blow this seed wide open. And we got the big key to Eastern Palace, another $5. And 50. So we are now a bow away from being able to clear Eastern Palace very early in this seed, as well as a single glove away from finding that Dark World access.
And having early Dark World access would make things a lot easier, because having to go through and just complete dungeons at 3 heart green mail, it's not too far.
Though this does give us Aghanim access, because the hammer can be used to break down that barrier. There we find all the bombs that Etium didn't need to buy.
And the best boomerang.
Yep, all the bombs. I suppose you're right. I forgot that we are playing Keysanity, and we will need to find those 2 small keys to the castle tower before we actually start thinking Ganon.
Yeah, and all dungeons kind of defeats the purpose of hoping for an Aga seed, but can't read on my parade.
Though I do find it a more appealing play to be done as the last dungeon you clear, because then it spits you out at full health and right on the top of the pyramid. If you have to do it early, you lose that chance for the free refill before Ganon.
Oh yeah, and that's just a kick in the pants.
And there we have a small key on the library. Now, we don't know if that's going to be necessary or not, because for all we know, that could be one of the several unnecessary Misery Mire small keys.
Oh yeah, and if it's Misery Mire, Skull Woods, Ice Palace, those ones, you could just toss them aside.
Now, you would prefer one for Skull Woods and one for Ice just to speed up your routing a little bit. But of course, that could be the Swamp Palace Small, which is huge. And there we have some flippers in the race game.
Yeah, you
Go
definitely
fast,
don't want
swim
to skip out
fast.
on that. So we got some water walking available for Idiom. Are we going to be seeing more South Shore?
I'd imagine a South Shore route would probably feels ideal right now, because that will send you towards... because we already have Zora money at this point. As we get a check of the Sun Prize by Etium, they're going to be... to find out we have single hearts from that. And running along the South Shore, and then just swimming your way up to Zora is really tight routing, since we're already well and good on money. Alright, let's see what is flooded underneath the dam.
Whatever it is, I hope it's water resistant.
It looks like that we have been joined on the left side by Big Dunka. It'll be a moment before we get truly what they own at this point, but I'd imagine they're probably sitting pretty close to what Etium has.
Oh, and that was the single arrow underneath the dam, and honestly, that's not the greatest of items, but the fact that it's out of the pool makes hints so much easier.
Is that the Argus sprite? Or...
Oh, no, that's, Ultros!
Ultros? Well, now tell me, what is that from?
Oh, Final Fantasy staple. He's, like, in 4, 5, 6... You know, we could just say Final Fantasy.
And there we go, the dangers of the Swordless here. We do have the hammer or bombs to take care of Mini Molder and Cave, and neither one of them are good options.
Yeah, and any time you have to use a hammer against a mini mold arm, it's just annoying.
Or just, you know, not swords. It looks like Etiem's going to cut their losses, come back for that when they're a little bit better to handle that, maybe say a hook shot. Alright, here comes Big Dunka's attempt as we're going to swim across. Small key on the Lake Hylia Island. Another one of those dangerous in plain sight keys. Am I going to need this? Am I not? I'm not going to find out for a while anyway. We see Dunka using a kamikaze strat on that center one.
Yeah, being so low health, you may want to do that just once.
Oh my, that's the hook shot behind Mini Moldorm. And the Cane of Samaria? 2 weapons that would have made that room a heck of a lot easier. As well as a small key to Pod, or Ganon's Tower.
Just a little cherry on top.
That is going to hurt Etium until they can get back there. Especially if they decide to put that off for quite a while, because the 2 items that were hiding there are probably the best alternatives to the bombs of being able to take care of that room.
Oh yeah, hookshot is insta-death for any mini mold arm, and Kane just really helps block it off.
It does fighter sword damage to them, so 2 hits with that should take care of them. Alright, and here we are. We have synced visits to the Ice Rod Cave, but Etium is just not having a good time with the enemies here today.
That's why I gotta be careful of those crabs.
Well, thankfully, it's just what would have been one of our 4 swords. Now, if you see one of those green 20s, that was where a sword was supposed to be placed in the item pool.
And thanks to one of our wonderful chat members here, Professor Render, for pointing that out just at the right time.
Now, here we come for another round on Etium. I think they may be swimming towards the Zora area. Meanwhile, Big Donkey is going to make our second visit to the hobo. It looks like Etium is also going to make a stop towards the refill cave here and get some more bombs. So welcome to the Pond of Happiness, where you would typically get the upgrades in vanilla, only this time it's just converted into a store to make it a little bit faster than throwing in rupees and chunks.
Capitalism.
And what was that hobo item that I missed? And that was just a heart container. Which will make things a little safer for Etienne, but that's still only 2 hugs from the crab army of the South Shore. So if those asking, since this is swordless, how do we? There are a couple things that we need to be able to use. You need a sword to be able to use a medallion. Unfortunately, with this, the only time you will be able to use a medallion is on a medallion square. Now we have added 2 medallion squares to the Freezor rooms in the 2 Bombos squares in the Freezor rooms, so you can clear out those without the fire rod. And the hammer will do damage to Ganon, which is both harder and easier because there are some setups with the hammer that you cannot do with a sword. Waterfall Fairy giving us a heart container and $20.
Definitely gonna make exploration a little bit easier with that health buffer, of course.
Every little bit of extra health helps when your main weapon has the hammer, which has a notoriously not good hitbox.
Oh yeah, especially if you try hitting something from, below.
Yeah, trying to hammer up is pretty much an exercise in futility.
It looks like Big Dunk is just about to give us what we've got from the King of Scams. Will he live up to his name?
We came all this way for, well, a 10% rebate. Would have been awesome for a credit card, not so much for Zora. Thank you for banging with Zora. Let me just go ahead and invest this, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
As we see, that was another GT small key on Zora Ledge.
And I believe that makes, 2 small keys that we've got for GT so far?
Absolutely. A couple other things to think about in Swordless: the curtains that are like in Aghanim's Tower, or the Skull Woods are already cut, so we don't have to worry about those.
Yeah, it definitely would be hard to get through those with nothing to slash with, of course.
Perhaps someday we will get that coded. Now here we go with Big Dunka heading up to Aga Tower here. Now there is, because we are playing Keysanity, that first chest in there doesn't have to be a key, and that could very well be an item. Looks like Etienne is going to make their revisit to the mini Moldorm Cave to pick up their cane and their hookshot, and probably feel a little bit frustrated with how things have gone so far. Never see Big Duncan making excellent use of that aforementioned hookshot to go ahead and stun those ball and chain guards. And unfortunately, just a big 20 for that first item in Aga Tower. Now, if we find one of the Castle Tower small keys, we will be able to gain access to the second item held within here. As we get that hookshot and cane on Etienne's side, and I imagine Big Dunka is now going to be heading in towards the escape sequence.
Great routing there, since, of course, we want to make sure to get all the chests out of the escape route. Since this is open, we don't have to worry about doing the escape right off the...
So now what's interesting is we do not have the Hyrule Castle small key yet. There is one of those that is in the chest pool, so while Big Dunka could get the item in Dark Cross, they would not be able to continue on to the back of the escape sequence. They would have to take a death warp. in order to get out of there because the door shutters behind you.
Yarp, yarp.
Meanwhile, Etienne is making our first visit to the bot that gave us the seed in the first place.
Good old Sassy Pants.
And we find out that the Desert Palace is where the green pendant is hidden, as we find 10 sticks in the bend of escape. Here we have our second shield, that bomb bust medallion, and the Quake medallion. It turns out this guy's a numismatist.
Very nice.
What's interesting is that will give us access to Ice Palace when we have the Titan's Mitts to open the door. And there's the only guaranteed big key of the match. Just for 3 bombs. Looks like Big Dunk is going to take the hugs from the screen guard to get back up to the surface.
Hopefully we will be getting something good in that Dark Cross, so maybe it'll be close.
It looks like he is remembering to head that direction, so that's good. Meanwhile, Etienne, armed with your Eastern Palace Big Key, will be able to clear everything except for the boss here.
And since this is 5 easy item locations, it's actually a really nice play to get to early on. And there it pays off. We've got our first set of gloves and our Dark World access.
Well, 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 the door is wide open on this seed now. That's quite a bit of the map that's just been opened up to us. We've got ourselves most of the Dark World, and with that glove, also quite a deal of the Light World Death Mountain as well.
And sadly, Big Dunk doesn't find anything more than a couple of bucks over in the Dark Cross. So yeah, he's going to head back and hopefully be going to Eastern Palace soon.
Absolutely, but there's still quite a few other locations available. I think there's still a little bit available to Big Dunk at this point. And the biggest here being Eastern Palace, which is heading that direction. We also have not seen a visit to our friend the Desert Hermit Agina.
Oh, very true. Even though that is one thing that's out of the way locations, it's still a decent one to go to.
It's still in that first sphere as we get our first hint that the flute requires the Cane of Samaria. And there are not many locations that qualify as that. We've got, most of Turtle Rock and Vitreous.
Yeah, it is an odd one. Now, the fun thing about that hint is it actually throws into effect the other types of settings as well. So basically, the only places that will be Cane of Samaria locked will be the fire-locked area in Turtle Rock, those 2 chests to the right, Vitreous, the boss himself, and the right side of GT.
And would that also include Trinex?
I'm not actually 100% sure on that, but I think it does.
Because I think the only way you can get the Trinex is by the cane, or,
By cheating?
I don't want to say it out loud, lest we start the debate in chat. Alright, and then we get another compass here out of Eastern Palace, so besides that glove, nothing of note. Should note that the maps and compasses are also shuffled in this Keysanity. The maps will let you be able to open your world map and see if a dungeon is a pendant or a crystal, and the compass will tell you how many things you have checked within that dungeon while you're inside. I suppose you're right that, bringing up chat, Vitreous cannot have the flute. However, if it was any other item in that location, or in that hint, that would be a location that is part of that.
Very true.
And there we have the back of the mapscape there.
Yeah.
What have you done to these people?
What hasn't he done?
Meanwhile, it looks like Etienne is heading down towards Hype Cave. And there's a nice little bit of making use of our Dark World access. Those asking in chat, yes, Aga 1 is required for all dungeons. So we're gonna have to complete, all the crystals, all the pendants, climb Ganon's tower, and take care of Aga 1 as we find out that we have the one crystal in pod.
Very nice find for early on, especially if Eastern Palace also happens to be a crystal. Because once we find that bow, we can just do a quick get 1-2 punch, and then we're done.
Now, we are still missing quite a bit of keys for the Palace of Darkness at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of keys, that's one of the biggest keys out there. That's the key to Swamp Palace, which allows you to get more than just the first check. As we find the small key to Skullwoods, which is significantly less of a good key. That'll speed up your routing a little bit, but not much else. And with it also is the cape, which will let us get through the bumper ledge. Now we have Etium going ahead and getting some information here as we find out that the Thieves' Town and Tower of Hera crystals are the 5-6, thanks to that bomb vendor.
Now that right there is actually a fantastic find, not only because they're just easy dungeons, but you only need the big key to complete both of those, and, well, I mean, you need that for anyway, but they're easily accessible. We can get to both Tower of Hera and Thieves' Town quite easily at this point, and once we find those big keys, then we've got Pyramid Fairy act.
And though Thieves' Town is though Tower of Hera is accessible, it is via the long way. Alright, let's see what is hanging out here on the pyramid ledge. Just a single rupee.
That poor dollar got caught on the wind.
But then again, we are still missing quite a bit of the big keys that are blocking us from completing either one of those dungeons. Well, the welcome to Keysanity, where we have to worry about how many keys do we have. And looks like Big Dunga is making their way up towards the mountain. We'll see if they also decide to take a look at the lumberjack, and the answer to that question is no. Meanwhile, Etium's making that long walk up to visit the catfish. But there is quite a bit of items that are in logic here up for Big Dunga on the mountain.
Yes, indeed.
Gives us access to the old man's item and what's inside Spectacle Rock, as well as Paradox Cave, Spiral Cave, and 2 checks in the Tower of Hera.
And what's great too is if any of those happen to be the Titan's mitts, then we've got 6 more locations thrown on.
And there's our big key to the Desert Palace. We have not found our way inside the door yet, but that would allow us to collect the green pendant. Big Nugget has to be careful, as those sky cabbages are getting kind of wicked today. Looks like Etium's gonna make the similar play and find their way up the mountain.
Ooh, is he gonna be the one to check Lumberjack for us? Maybe? Oh.
And it looks like there wasn't much anything of note there in Spectacle Rock Cave, so Big Duncan's just decided they're gonna actually save and quit out so they can get to the bottom of the mountain potentially a little bit faster. And I'd be curious to see if that's actually faster or not.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but it might be.
If anything, it does require less effort, and I'm all about being lazy.
Hey,
Inventive
work
does
smarter.
bring a good point that that Big Duncan was down to a single heart.
Always gotta remember to play smarter.
As we get more info there, I think I just saw crystals there in the light world. It was an awful fast map check.
Yeah, Eastern is actually a crystal. It's our number 4.
And then, of course, we do know that the Desert Palace was the green pendant. Thanks to Sahasrara.
Ah, good old sassy pants.
Alright, now I get to do the checks on the top side here of good old Paradox Cave. We have ourselves, well, the big key to Misery Mire, the big key to Skull Woods, $50, piece of heart container, and our first bottle of the match containing a red potion.
Ah, the wonderful goop juice.
Now, it's interesting to see the difference in those keys. The Misery Miner key required to complete the dungeon. The Skullwoods key, that's been reduced to nothing more than a fetch quest. Now, it looks like Etium is going to go ahead and knock out the worst location in the game, in my opinion. Hello, Spike Cave.
I definitely have to agree with you there.
Just feels so slow. And it's usually a one-way trip. And it costs you magic. But will it pay out dividends as an early play? And that is huge. That is the magic mirror.
And that is exactly why I check Spike Cave every game.
And there we have a pod small key in the basement of Hera. So Big Dunka's going to head on up, check what's in the backside of this first floor. And unless they find another key for this dungeon, they'll be done. And there we go. We found out that the basement of this dungeon contains the Ganon's Tower Big Key. So we're going to have to find that Tower of Hera small key for sure. And what a location for that hint.
I'll say.
I imagine I would agree with chat that now would be a good time for Big Dunka to do the Spiral Cave, but we'll see if they at some point make time for Spike Cave.
Spiral Cave.
It is a long walk.
Yeah, sadly, it's too long for me to do the whole thing, but memory of Wolfman. Spiral Cave, Spiral Cave. We're going through Spiral Cave. What's it got? We don't know. Probably crap, that's for sure. Look out! We just done Spiral Cave.
So beautiful. And it's a map of Swamp Palace. At least we'll know what's a pendant or a crystal. Huh? Huh?
In normal modes, that would be a godsend, but since this is all dungeons, it's kind of not needed.
Yeah, and even so, it doesn't always feel like it helps. When you consider how big it, how many things we're going to have to check regardless. We have lots of keys to find yet.
Very true.
And here comes Etium's check of that Spiral Cave. Meanwhile, Big Dunka is going to find out they're walking into the Hype Cave for just that Swamp Palace key. Which, I mean, you want. Speaking of Swamp Palace, Etium now has access to clear everything except for the big chest in Swamp. And that's good. You know, Swamp Palace doesn't feel great in normal mode, but with this, it's in Keysanity, it is one of the most item-dense locations in the game.
It is a really nice one to go to early on, especially since you only need the small key and, what, 4 unique items?
Well, in this case, it jumps up to quite a bit, and it's quite up there.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of places with lots of items, Big Dunka is kind of heading toward Pod. Looks like they're going to go ahead and knock out the Pyramid and Catfish check. And I think Etium, with what they have now, is thinking, yeah, Swamp Palace. The seed is definitely screaming Swamp Palace. The operative question will be, how long will it take Big Dunka to find that mirror in Spike Cave? And I guess, of course, for those in the chat, we are locked into a menu boss, as we're going to get a map check there to find out there was a crystal in Pod, and I'm think it was a crystal in Swamp. So we're
Yep.
slowly running out of crystals here.
Yeah, locations. Swamp is our 7 crystal. So we've got our green pendant, both our 5, 6, and our 7 and 4.
And the 1, and isn't this in the pod 1?
Yep. So out of Ice Palace, Misery Mire, and Turtle Rock, one of those 3 will be a crystal.
Which only lets us know what could potentially be on the pedestal at this point. Or what could be hiding in Ganon's tower. A map is a mimic cave. Well, thanks for saving us just a little bit of time, game.
Not always the greatest of hints, but you know, for something that's out of the way in most cases, yeah, well, we'll take it.
And there we see just 10 sticks in the front door of Swamp Palace. If you're playing Keysanity yourself, but find yourself heading towards Swamp without the hammer, please do check that check that location, and that could definitely be hiding something of note.
More often than not, the hammer.
Because that's how the game. Because confirmation bias is definitely not a thing.
No.
Alright, Big Duncan heading in towards the village, and imagine where we're going to see a check towards the village of outcasts, or maybe even Skull Woods. It looks like first we're going to see the first visit to that sick kid. We got a little bit too close to Cold Wind from Death Mountain. Those asking in chat, as we find 10 sticks on the sick kid, the Spike Cave contained the mirror. Because screw Spike Cave, it has to ruin everything.
Darn tootin'.
I'm not bitter, no.
It's alright. Spike Cave can't hurt you anymore.
You say that.
Well, for today at least.
Oh, okay. Clearing through more of Swamp Palace and Etienne's side, while Big Dunga is going to find their way into the Dark World via the Village of Outcasts portal.
Now, Village of Outcasts may be a better one to go to, because not only can you get the 3 in Village of Outcasts, you can get the 4 chests in these.
And there we find the first of our 4 TR keys, though. If we're not looking too hard for items, we only require 3 of those to actually clear the dungeon if you snipe the key. But that does prevent you from getting to the lava bridge chest.
Which I can tell you, I've been burned by many a time, so it's definitely a good thing to check that out if you can.
Now, this is an interesting little bit of routing through Swamp Palace by Etienne. I have not seen it done in that manner. He definitely spends less time scaling stairs. We find a piece of heart and a map so far in Skull Woods, and that small key he picked up earlier will save them from having to go through the pinball room.
Which is always a pleasure.
I have to say, this early hook shot coming in fairly clutch for these 2 runners, as they do not have to deal with those mini mold arms quite as difficultly as they did before, when they picked it up in Mini Mold Arm Cave. Speaking of these runners, don't be afraid to give them a follow. Oh, looks like the bot seems to have fallen asleep. Somebody poke that one.
We normally don't advocate poking bots, but this is a good one.
Alright, and we're going to head on in toward that back chest of Skull Woods. But Keysanity making it a little bit easier than having to deal with those darned Gibdos. As we find what would, and that would have been another one of our 4 swords that we don't get to play with.
Oh, nice. So we're up to Master Sword right now. I'll keep count.
And there's a TR small key for Etienne. That's number 2 so far. And we find ourselves a map of the Tower of Hera. So we already know that it is a 5-6.
Ooh, looks like Big Dunka is going to go check out Bumper Ledge, see if that cape is going to be of any use.
And No, it's that gambit. Is that a key I need? Is that not a key I need? At this point, you're going for it. We're looking for far too many keys to not check that.
Oh, yeah.
And Edgy making good use of that stun prize to get themselves a health refill as they have to deal with this dungeon swordless. Forgetting they do not have the swamp big key.
Yeah, unfortunately, caressing the chest won't open it.
Oh, the big key, so the... Alright, let's see, what is that small key heading up there? That's the small key to TR, and that's our third one, which would let us get to Trinex at this point.
That is an excellent find, and in a lot of cases is pretty much all you need.
Though there could be a required item locked away on that lava chest. While Big Duncan looks to be heading in towards the Village of Outcasts, quite a few checks to knock out early here, as they're making their way back towards that menu boss we all know and love. 2 flooded chests here on the right side of your screen. So you get a heart piece, $20, and $20 on the left.
And now people have dubbed that the C-shaped house, but I always like to call it Mario's wallet, because you always find the money there.
Until you don't. And that block unfortunately preventing that hook shot from actually hitting that water Tektite, as they find $300 in the brewery.
Well, if you wanted a vanilla location tonight, that's definitely a good place to find it.
And there we see Etienne making use of that hookshot to get the double heart refills. Good use of game mechanics? Definitely a feature. As we get a heart container on the left from Big Dunka in the chest game. And here we are. It's time for a slideshow on Etienne's screen. In this shot we had the hookshot. Now we have the hammer. And then I grab the hookshot.
Welcome, folks, to Menu Simulator 2019.
Remember those slideshows from the 90s? People make you watch their family photos? Or am I just the only one old enough to remember that here?
I don't know, I think most of our crowd might be old enough to remember that. Ooh, those were boots over on Pink Ducka's side.
And also our last Turtle Rock key.
Alright, so we can full clear Turtle Rock once we can get the Fire Rod and the Ice Rod and Titan's Mitts and the Medallion to open it.
Titan's Mitts.
Woof.
You're the summoner tonight.
I am. Dang.
And then we find potential drugs. So quite a bit of use in that first 4 checks at Thieves Town. No big key, so we have to leave.
So that opens up quite a decent amount. Not only can you fake powder, you can go ahead and turn in the mushroom for that item. You can go ahead and check out Bonk Rocks, and you can do the Smith Chain. So, nice find.
Alright, and now the worst part of this Argus fight. Just try to hit him with the hammer.
This part's painful.
And now, putting on Big Dunka's side, though he has the boots, there is no item dashing allowed, because you need a sword in order for item dashing to work. We get none of those here. 10 sticks and hammer pegs, and Edwin unfortunately gets landed on by that Argus. Whacking Argus is a lot less fun than Whack-a-Mole. All that for a heart container and our first crystal of the match at 39 minutes.
First blood.
Meanwhile, Big Dunk on the left side of your screen is heading in towards the digging game with Alec Baldwin. 1 to 30 strikes of the earth will reveal a prize for us today. What will it be?
I've never heard him called Alec Baldwin before. That's great.
And I have to say, the shovel sprite for the shoveling for this sprite is interesting, to say the least. And there we finally have a small key here for Thieves Town. Yo, I heard you like fetch quests, because that's another one, and that gives us access to the big chest. Whenever we find the big key, of course.
You know, I'd rather find the small key before the big key in that scenario.
Oh, 100%. Especially if you don't, then you gotta find that hammer at some point. As we find our first of 2 Agate Tower small keys on the Hylie Kylie Island. Meanwhile, Stumpy's got the big key to Thieves Town.
Oh, dang, what places to find them? Right next to each other, and man, that's gonna be good.
Interesting though that Big Dunka does not decide to then just go straight back to Thieves Town.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I can understand because he's gonna head over to Dark Death Mountain, get those 6 checks out of the way, because, 6 is bigger than 4. But you also get a crystal out of the way?
It's an interesting decision, but I think they were already banking on this, and then said, "Well, I can just come back at some point. Maybe I get lucky and Fire Rod comes up here on Dark Death Mountain, and I can do Skull Woods right afterward."
Ah, very true. Very true.
Then we get the sick kid turn in from Etienne, while Big Dunk is heading up toward the top of the mountains. They can enter into the Dark Death Mountain from the portal on top of Turtle Rock. But the real question is, when will Big Dunga find their way over to that accursed spike cave to find their magic mirror?
Hopefully soon and not in an hour and 20 minutes.
Now we find out we indeed own the Quake Medallion to get into Turtle Rock. And I'll be curious to see if Big Dunga chooses to use their cane to grab that first chest to the left in TR.
Funny enough, since he's got a decent amount of small keys, he could actually head all... Well, actually, he can go ahead and head a few steps in.
But he's going to elect to walk away for at first. For those asking in chat, why doesn't item dashing work without a sword? They're not exactly sure, but the best hypothesis is that it requires having a sword there puts out a hitbox that the other item would then use. Without that sword, there's no hitbox. So kind of like if you dash into an enemy without a sword, you get hurt instead of dashing through it.
And it looks like Big Dunka found what would have been our tempered sword over in Super Bunny Cave.
So that's 3 out of our 4 swords that would have been found, as we see the second one on Etiem's side. Well, we're gonna make our way through Hookshot. $20. And the Book of Medora, there's our access to the front of Desert Palace. There's sword number 4. And a compass.
Not bad at all. Now, fun thing here, because you may want to ask, wait, if we have no swords, how are we going to get to the tablets? Well, don't you worry none, because as long as you got the book, you can get to those tablets.
Nice to get a hint of the Turtle Rock hint. 10th enemy has the bomb. Helpful if we were playing an earlier game in the franchise. Meanwhile, Big Dunka is going to make their way over to that first chest of Turtle Rock. Definitely an in-logic check at this point.
Ooh, and the magic powder.
Potentially good, potentially not. We'll see what happens. But it looks like Big Dunka is going to go ahead and keys continue deeper into the dungeon when the game allows him to. So we're going to head into the Chain Chomp room now, and here we look at the prospect of taking care of a Hoku Boku with the hammer.
Honestly, I don't even want to say anything towards it, because it's just terrible, as we just saw.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's no good. No good. Unfortunately, for those in chat, there's no use of the Bombos medallion to just burn that sucker to the ground. No, his only recourse is hammer at this point. Meanwhile, that Murder Dactyl just not cooperating on Etienne's side, who just really wants to get that TR small key off the top there. Today we learned Samaria blocks can knock off layers of Hokuboku.
Which in turn makes it a whole lot easier to deal with, thankfully.
Potentially. I mean, he did take one hit. And the head takes multiple hits to kill, apparently.
So many hits.
5, 6, 7, 8. 8 strikes with the cane of Samaria to take care of that Hokuboku head. Oh, and now he has to dodge chain chomps.
Oh, I was gonna say, you better move, buddy, because there's a delay on that item.
I'm gonna go ahead and use it and find the small key to Hyrule Castle. Yay!
Now, honestly, that's a much better idea for him to save and quit at that point, because the only thing that you would be able to do from there would be to get the small key next to the lava room chest and either use it, get the lava room chest, or basically nothing else, because no big key means no big chest, and no mirror means no mimic key. Then we've already got a hint that it's useless.
Yes, for those asking in chat, if the key is for Aghanim's Tower, it'll say Castle Tower. If it's for the escape sequence, that's Hyrule Castle. As we find a bottle in Mirror Ledge. Over the Graveyard Ledge.
That could be a good backup for later on.
Alright, and we're gonna make our way back down here. Can't just dash through these accursed stealthos. No sword, no invulnerability while dashing. Above the post, we did indeed find a bottle.
A wonderful bottle full of oxygen.
Or, at least we think Hyrule has an oxygen-rich atmosphere. But with all the different creatures living on there, are we sure they all breathe that?
I really don't want to open that can of worms.
And we find out there's a unique item in a spiral cave. Thanks.
That's a great hint for Big Dunka, though, because he hasn't gone yet, and that'll get him access to his...
that said spiral, did it not? It was Spike?
Oh,
I can't read.
Spike.
I can't read!
It's alright.
I just talk video game, I know read.
Ooga booga.
Well, Etiem's gonna head into Thieves Town here and check that first 4. Unfortunately, we'll not get that little bit of extra routing if they'd just gone south first, but I definitely agree with the play to just dive in here first before going south, because there's no guarantee you're gonna find both keys below Thieves Town. No.
Nah, that would just be too nice.
So let's see what we find in the backside of Big Dunka here.
And chat does point out something very nice here, since Idiom is actually doing all this area with the mirror, he'll have access to the Smith chain a whole lot easier than Big Duncan. And that right there was the big key to Pod. That opens up, well, of course, Pod, Big Chest, and Boss, and as long as you route it right, that can get you a lot of items early on.
Yeah, that's potential, but we still have to find more of those small keys. If you can hammer Yump, you can full clear the dungeon on 4 keys. If you can't, you're gonna need 5.
And if you're lazy, you're gonna need all 6.
But then, of course, the only way you can avoid that using that 6 key is if you have the bow, which is still very much at large.
Very true.
And actually, we're doing a good job to remember that there was a small key here on the library as we're getting a hammer blind fight from Big Dunka. First phase going good so far. As we get the Desert Palace small key for Etienne.
great place for it, because once he finds that book, then he'll be able to go ahead and full clear Desert Palace.
Now, Big Duncan did neglect that location, so if that's another thing, they could potentially be orphaning if they don't remember that there's a small key there. Of course, that small key only opens up 2 checks, and there's no guarantee they're any good. As we find another pod small key on Blind the Thief, down goes Tonka's first crystal of the match. As we get to watch Etienne dig 26 times to find a small key. 2 thieves down.
Thank you, Alec Baldwin.
Big Duncan, having done with Thieves Town, decided, well, it's time to go somewhere else on the map. It looks like they're heading toward the mountain. After seeing that hint on Spike for a unique item in Spike Cave, I think they're beelining for it now.
Yeah, it's a good assumption.
Or are they squid lining for it?
Slither. Hover. Yeah, we'll go with that.
And we're going to see our very first check of what the Smiths are making for us today, as we get confirmation that Ice Palace is our final crystal.
Oh, that means we've got Misery Mire and Turtle Rock as our pendants. You know, if we didn't already have the Cane of Samaria, that would have been a fantastic item to find on the pedestal.
I mean, the Mire could still require the Ether Medallion, which could be in Ganon's tower.
Very true. And since Skull Woods is going to be a crystal, sadly that can't have the Fire Rod on the pedestal.
And the Fire Rod could be...
Oh, sorry, I said that reversed.
No, but it said reversed, but the Fire Rod can't be on the pedestal because Trinex needs the Fire Rod.
Haderp.
So right now, the pedestal is all but dead at this point. The bow is the only thing that can be there.
That would be a fun find.
The bow or any of the... It could still be a big key for a crystal dungeon we have not gotten yet, like the Tower of Hera. Or even worse, it could have the Ice Palace big key. Looks like Etienne's going to go ahead and drain their magic so they can fake powder, not knowing that the real powder is just a few checks away. And today we have been cursed with a small key to pod.
So evil.
Now, Big Dunka is going to make our first dive into, or their first dive into Swamp Palace. And it looks like Etienne is going to go ahead and take the purple chest back to Gary. But first they want their Dark Road portal back.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So that way they can go ahead and knock out Cave 45 along the way. And they'll go make their visit to Stumpy, pick up their Thieves Town big key. Darn.
Yeah, Bot still has to be mean. Well, what do we got in Cave 45? Just money!
Big money, big prizes. I'm moving on.
Next, we're gonna find out that Stumpy's giving away keys.
Aren't they ever?
Thank you, Stumpy.
And make sure to not forget that purple chest. I'm sure we've all done it at some point, and it's an unfortunate feeling.
Yeah, nothing's greater than mirroring over to Gary without the chest.
It's like, oh. Oh.
Oh.
And Stumpy is one of those places that's easy to leave it behind, as talking to Stumpy causes it to be dropped. And all that, though, for just some sticks.
Since they were in his lunchbox, I'm gonna call them chopsticks.
And Etienne is going to go ahead and check out what's on the desert ledge and make our first visit to the Desert Hermit. So had they been up to the mountain, they could have already gone inside Desert Palace. But they still need to find that Book of Medora in the cave that has Hookshot.
And what are we gonna find inside the fart cave? Oh, it's a bad boomerang.
Indeed, worst boomerang NA. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue on and see where Etienne wants to go to next on Imagine Thieves Town. It's pretty high on their list, on their agenda. But it looks like first they are indeed going to make that visit to King's Tomb. Or they're going to swerve us and turn in the mushroom. Which we have not yet seen, so that's actually pretty decent rounding. You do mushroom into King's Tomb and then head back towards the village.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Now let us see what the going price is for magic mushrooms. Turns out it's a little bit of love.
Must resist urge to make not PG comment.
You can handle it. And we're going to go ahead and refill our magic and pick up 2 blue potions, which are going to be handy because this is swordless and the hammer's no fun.
And may give us a possible look at the potion glitch.
I think at this point, though, it doesn't feel that attractive of a play as Etienne's only on 2 pod smalls.
Oh yeah. And he's probably gonna wait to get at least I'd say at least one more.
And of course, I don't think they haven't been into Thieves Town where the pod big key is.
Oh, wait, we already did the back escape, never mind.
Yeah, so he's gonna go ahead. So he'll have to pick up that pod big key before the Palace of Darkness play really feels that attractive. And we're also gonna get our first check of the bonk rocks here.
Come on, bonk rocks. No whammy. Oh.
Map of Thieves Town. But we already have all the info. As Big Dunka took a dive there. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not.
Oof, I don't think it was. I kind of find it funny that an octopus dies to water.
Such are the dangers of swordless mode. You're not as able to freely run around with those boots as you are typically used to. As we find out that we do finally get bombs as our lumberjack item, so no early Aghanim, so but we will have to clear it in order to damage Ganon. I'm going to motor our way over to the village as Big Dunk is going to go for their second trip through the back of Swamp Palace. Not as free as it normally would be. Even though he would he would have been on Gold Sword if someone's bot hadn't taken all the swords away.
Thanks, Sassy Pants.
And for those thinking, what are we talking about? Well, this is a random seed. Now that is with the casual weights. So it depends on what level you set it on kind of sets it on how strongly it wants to weigh out certain options. Like on casual, it's gonna lean more towards easy or normal than it is toward hard difficulty. Though the goal is weighted just about as evenly as anything else. And interestingly enough, it's got about the weights are there's about 5 times more likely to see it open to see swordless than you are not.
And I do find it funny that the bot thinks swordless is actually easier than getting swords. And poor Idiom finding that hint about the unique item in Spy Cave and showing his appreciation by leaving a bomb.
Well, that's one of those things where that's where a lot of the quote on not really controversy, but the discussion of not why some of the more advanced runners don't really like the hints because it takes some kind of the interesting dives out of it, where it just tells you like because it may have taken Big Dunka a long time to find the mirror in Spike Cave if the game hadn't just outright told him you should probably go check this.
Oh, yeah. And even then, a lot of cases, hints can be trolly, as we've seen in that one. But just
No,
because
absolutely.
it's... Yeah, there are a few unique items in the game that aren't of any use.
You know, that single arrow, boomerangs, the bug net. Though I will say, if you're playing Entrance Randomizer, you kind of like those a bit more than just normal.
Oh, yes.
Alright, then we get Redemption for Big Dunka. They have gone ahead and cleared through all of Swamp Palace finally on that return trip, as Etium is making their way back towards the Maiden. Trying desperately to hammer these Zazacs, but, you know, that up hitbox on the hammer is a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
But making good use of their single Heartstun prize.
I mean, it's definitely not a kick in the pants, that's for sure.
It's one thing to note that both of the runners, because they did not find that Swamp Big Key, are orphaning that Swamp Big Chest. And if that comes up later with some kind of progression, that's unfortunate. But both runners kind of forced into that play because you just can't pass up 9 items.
And I'd have to say that's the marvel of Randomizer, especially with the Keysanity variant. With 216 overall checks, you're not very likely to find something good in just one specific location. But at the same time, it could be the one that you're looking for to progress the game.
That's one thing Keysanity adds is it adds quite a bit more potential checks, as well as it adds more hypothetical ice rods. You know, that one item that's locking so much and could be just about anywhere. For example, the Swamp Palace Small Key, usually something you're really looking to find because of how many items it locks, though this time it came up early and there really wasn't anything of note in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, not huge progression as of yet.
But it does also add some fetch quests to the pool, as Edium is doing quite a bit of good dancing here to avoid dying in this blind fight, and there's the final strike with 3 hearts remaining. Well done.
And with his third pod key, he may think it's a good time to go check out some of those chests. Because if he plays it well and does the hammer yump, you can get every chest except for the one on Helmasaur.
You know, though they will need to go up to the mountain to get that pod big key. Or no, never mind, I had my locations backwards. But either way, they're going to save and quit out of Thieves Town. Well, Big Dunk, I think, is going to go ahead and go back for the purple chest at this point and the smith chain.
Ooh, and I think Idiom's going to go ahead and do his 2 checks in Aga Tower.
Now, we've already seen the first check be nothing, but now with that small key, we do have access to the second check, and the lantern as well, being the other part of it. And actually, I think Etium still hasn't done has not done the escape sequence as of yet, so they still need to go ahead and take care of this as well.
Oh, yes. With that mirror, it's going to be a whole lot easier. You don't have to death warp, and hopefully he remembers he has that mirror.
I'd imagine they will as early as they found it, especially after getting reminded of how awesome their find could have been had not been for that Thieves' Town hint.
Oh, yes.
As we get our second visit of the magic bat for Big Dunka.
Cursed with more ability to open doors!
Such a vicious curse, it really is. Go ahead and running through some recursive checks here.
Oh, and Big Dunka does actually have 4 small pod keys now, so if he does the hammer yump, he can clear out pod. Well, of course he needs the bow, but...
We'll see where that goes.
It'll be interesting. I want to say that pod is going to be our next progression, because I think logically that's one of the best things to go do. That or Ice Palace, because Ice Palace is weird when it comes to key logic.
I mean, technically, you need all the keys. The logic expects you to have found all the keys in order to complete the dungeon. However, there are quite a few dungeons where we can get around that requirement. Mire and Skullwoods, we don't ever need to actually find a key in a chest for. Ice Palace, it's not required, but it does make routing a little bit more efficient.
Ooh, I think Big Dunka is going to go check out that Bombos.
Get one of our tablets out of the way. Also, one thing of note, we do have logical access to Ice Palace to clear... well, we could complete it. Except for that big chest, which ends up being yet another fetch quest. As we pray to the heavens and receive a small key to Ice Palace.
Oh, look at that.
Routing saved. But they're going to go head on over to Desert.
I didn't even give him that guard a little bit of a dance before smashing him in the face with the hammer.
And I have to say, that fairy felt pretty good to get right there.
Oh yeah, that was definitely a good spawn.
Because those stabby blue guards are probably one of the more obnoxious enemies in the game. They're fast and they're relentless, as we get a big 20 for the second check.
Oof.
I'm going to go ahead and save and quit out of there. Meanwhile, we're going to get our first dive into Desert Palace. It looks like Big Dunka did remember to go to the library and pick up that small key to Desert. Take a look. It's in a book. It's Desert Palace.
Haha! Now no one can complain because we've both sung.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. Alright, so meanwhile, it looks like Big Dunka is going to go ahead and check that right side first via the small key. Meanwhile, Etienne heading back up the mountain here. Looks like they're going to make their way over to the Ether Tablet and make their Tower of Hera checks as well. Actually, they don't have the book yet from Hookshot Cave, so they can't actually do the Ether Tablet.
That right there was the fire rod for Big Dunka. And
That's
another bottle.
That is a nice find there. And Etienne, of course, will also get the information that the big key of Evil's Bane is locked away in the basement here of the Tower of Hera. So we've got to find that Tower of Hera small key.
But oh man, that fire rod opens up a decent chunk.
That's more checks at Turtle Rock, as well as the back of Skullwoods. Because who likes a hammer moth fight?
Right? We got ourselves a small key to Misery Mire, just a convenience key, and a nice insane cash.
So in case you guys missed it, when they both cleared Swamp Palace, there's some cash in there.
Oh boy, I hope they go back for it.
Now, it did not say the big chest of Swamp Palace, so that could refer to another chest as well.
Very true, very true.
I'm sure there was some cash in there, I just forgot.
Yeah, it's kind of mundane to remember. Very nice job there. Getting the spin speed to go ahead and whack those hammer pegs, and if you're not careful, you can very easily jump off, which kind of negates the purpose of doing the spin speed.
And not only that, but that fire rod we found in the front side of this gonna make the Landmolus fight just a little bit easier.
Now, interesting thing here is it looks like Etium actually has all of the Turtle Rock small keys, so if he wanted to boogie his way down to Laser Bridge, well, he'd be stopped by the big key. But he can actually do a decent amount if he finds that big key.
But he will not be able to get those two chests locked behind the fire rod, which is in the Desert Palace, which Dunk is in now as Etium finds what would have been their fourth sword and the Book of Dora, which gives them access. Not the most efficient way to fire rod things, but
Meh.
there is at least one small magic decanter back in this room, but Big Duncan said they don't need it. Though, if they had picked up that magic decanter, they probably could have done this fight all with the fire rod.
Oh yeah, because nothing's more entertaining than smashing Landmo with a hammer.
Because that would have been one more shot of the fire rod, which would have been enough to put an end to it as we find the other Agate Tower small key and the green pendant prize.
That's an excellent find, because not only can we finish that Aga, that is one more dungeon that we can just knock off. Now, funny thing is, we've already seen that both of those chests are, well, nonsense. So if these guys want to save it for that last boss, basically they can do Aga 2, mirror back over to Aga 1, get that health refill, and then go on to Ganon.
As that team picks up the powder here in Turtle Rock. Now, if the ice rod turns up in Turtle Rock, that's not going to be good for Etium, who needs to find the fire rod hidden away in Desert Palace.
And muscle memory almost getting the better of him.
Realizing before the door is like, oh wait, I don't have a fire rod, I can't go in there yet. And there we have it, the world's worst red Stelphos. Just get away from the ledge, please. And here comes Etium's fight with the Hokuboku boss.
I think it was pointed out the last time that you had done comms that you actually mentioned that it was the Hokuboku. And I have to thank you because I always forget it. I'm going to make it my mission to remember what that little thing's name is.
Despite the fact that it looks like a Mario Pokey, it is a Hokuboku. Because Japan.
Thank you, Nippon.
And now Etium has to be careful. Though, thankfully, their next room they're going to happens to have a cluster of 4 anti-fairies, which, with his powder, can become regular fairies.
Mmm, delicious fairies.
And then we're going to get our first check of the 2 checks here in Skullwoods. Looks up, gets 4 fairies for their trouble, and is now going to go ahead and clear the rest of Turtle Rock up until the boss. And there's the big key for the Tower of Hera for Big Dunka.
Ooh.
Gonna let them clear the dungeon, but will not get them closer to that key that we know is hiding below. Oh, Hokubokus. Must have been one of the more annoying enemies in the game.
Doesn't help as those little...
lack that fire rod.
Right?
Or a sword to just kind of, because with like gold sword you can just spin it to death. And there's $100 in the lava bridge chest. Nice quick snipe by Big Dunka there to take care of that Gibdo with the key.
That always feels satisfying, just to snipe that dude right as he enters.
And there we go, it looks like he's got 3 shots with the fire rod. Lands them all. That last one may not have counted. Now it's time for the hammer fight.
Ooh, he's got 1. That's 2, and he's done.
That's a well-executed fight. Doesn't even take a hug there. And as he gets the compass for Skull Woods confirmed by that ticker up top, Oh, and of course, one thing we should have noted that we actually need the big key to go any further than the big chest. Because there's a big key door behind that next room. Well, Etienne is going to go ahead and make our first check of the ether tablet. As we're going to get a pedestal check on the left side of your screen. This will give you 10 shots with your bow, and nope.
Oh. Well, folks, Pet is dead.
There is no saving it now.
Today a sweet, sweet song of sweet sorrow.
We hardly knew ye. Meanwhile, we're going to see where we're going to head to next. Etienne is scooting across the bottom of the dark world here.
Ooh, maybe he's gonna be doing... Is he gonna go to desert? Nah, he's gonna go check out Bombos and then head to desert.
I think you realize, oh, that's right, I just picked up a book. I should probably go check that as well. So at this point, we know that the... So at this point, we're pretty much seeing that the flute is either right... The flute could definitely be on right side GT, locked behind the cane at this point.
Oh, yes.
It could also be deeper into Turtle Rock. We just need to see where that's at. The next thing to note that could be in the Ganon's tower that could be required might be the Ether Medallion, if that's what gets us into Misery Mire. We won't be able to see that until we find that flute, which via the hint is behind the Cave of Samaria. Big Dunka going ahead and checking out Graveyard Ledge.
We'll be happy to find that wonderful bottle of nothing.
Well, you know, and especially in Swordless, I think the bottles carry a little bit more weight. Though Big Dunka disagrees with me.
For shame. You listen to us commentators.
I'd have to agree with the sentiment of chat. It seems like at this point, Palace of Darkness looks to be a good play, especially if you can hammer jump, because that leaves you to do everything except the boss. Or if you're feeling frisky, you can take a death in the beginning of that dungeon, and actually you can't. Without the bow, we can't actually get to the boss to make saving that key worthwhile. As Etienne finds their fire rod on the right side of desert.
And of course, since we're all experienced runners, we think about, oh yeah, we can do this. But of course, logic doesn't always play nice and make you single dip dungeons, especially in Keysanity.
However, they could. I mean, at this point, with the keys they have, I think the game would expect them to be able to clear everything but the bow side and the boss, because they have the big key and 4 smalls. I think the only thing that would logically lock out would be the harmless Hellway. But key logic is a complicated mistress.
You can say that again.
And again, Ice Palace does look like an attractive place, especially now that we have the Bombos Medallion and the Fire Rod. But with that Fire Rod, Big Dunka now going to go ahead and see what those other chests are in Turtle Rock, if they can get the hookshot speed, which is just not cooperating for them.
Yeah, not to mention being pelted a lot by those sky cabbages.
Definitely a thing. Etienne is going to go ahead and finish out Desert Palace, and Big Dunka is going to check their Ether Tablet and likely head over to TR, so we can see those 2 checks that have been locked behind the Fire Rod for so long. If they decide to do so.
Yeah, the interesting thing here will be if Big Dunka decides to go ahead and dip into Tower of Terror to finish it up, because with that big key he can, but... Ooh, he does.
I mean, it is in logic, so it is a good solid play, I believe.
Oh yeah, not only do you get that other 5/6 crystal, which opens up Pyramid Fairy, but you get yourself 3 more items.
At this point for chat, the chat asking, is anyone ahead or behind? I mean, it's kind of tough to tell at this point. Etium has just decided to do different checks than Big Dunka has. Well, you know, Etium decided to do overworld checks as opposed to some of the dungeons earlier, which cost them a little bit of time, but I mean, they found the mirror first and just went to swamps first. The Big Dunga had faster things to do early, which Etium still has to do. And the stuff that Big Dunka is ahead, Etium can clear out in a relatively quick fashion.
Oh, yes.
Also, shoutouts to that Flippers hint there, as Trolldorm lives up to his name and says, Big Dunka, you're out of here.
Boing.
Alright, with that, that's the end of the Len Molus for Etium. There's 1 Hammer Strike for Big Dunka. There's 2. Watch out, there's 3. And for those asking in chat, the Tower of Hera Big Key was in the chest underneath the bridge chest in Skullwoods, which Etium is leaving behind at this point. So that could potentially cost him a bit of time going toward the end here. Because it looks like Etium with that Fire Artist decided they really want to check those 2 things in Turtle Rock first.
Now, I believe that Big Dunka ended up getting a small key to Pod off of Moldorm, so that makes 5. He can go ahead and easily get through Pod if he doesn't do the Hammer Yump.
Yeah, so no need for the Hammer Yump, but we'll still need a Potion Glitch.
Which, thankfully, they've got plenty of bottles for.
But they have not purchased the potions yet.
I think Big Dunka still has a few, because he was over at the Witch's Hut just a bit ago.
I forget if they decided to purchase one, and though they did neglect, they did choose to not go for that 3rd bottle.
Shame. Shame.
Alright, so what has been eluding us here on the right side of Turtle Rock? 2 torches, 3 torches, 4. Pull off
And
the
a hook shot.
One of these days I will be able to land that trick.
Yeah, it's a hit or miss for me.
Go ahead and cape toward the back here, and what do we have? We have a piece of hearts, and our first male upgrade of the game.
Hey yo. Now this is actually where Itium's going to have a little bit of time saved, since he's already checked the back end of the lava room, which it looks like Big Dunka is heading to now. Once Itium gets that mail and that heart piece, he's going to bounce.
And then imagine that they're either going to clear Skullwoods, or maybe this is finally the time where you check Palace of Darkness, where it feels pretty much like the bow has to be in there. Although the bow could very well, and another play that does look good is Ice Palace, though you would be orphaning the big chest.
Either one is going to be a pain.
Either one sets you up for either a potential double dip or a potential orphan. Etium's heading towards the right, and it looks like Pod. Nope, they're swerving me and they're heading south. Looks like we're going to see our first Ice Palace visit.
He knows. He knows.
And with this, Ice Palace typically not the most rich dungeon. Only has 3 unique items, but now we've added 2 keys, as well as 3 more checks. So that makes Ice Palace a little bit better. Plus, they have all that information from the hint tiles as well. And we find out that we will not have to deal with the fire-locked side of Misery Mire, unless you really want a 4th bottle, which I don't think that they're going to be that hard up for. And chat bringing up a good point, though. We have not yet seen the turn-in of that green pendant with our runners, but it looks like Big Dunka's going to go ahead and knock that out now.
Ooh. Let's see what Shashralla's got for us.
Fortunately, it's not. That was not both of our Meyer items, as this is Keysanity. And we find ourselves the small key for Misery Meyer. Yay.
Another convenience key. Huzzah.
I mean, is anything beyond the first key a convenience key for Meyer?
It's lavish. Lavish luxury. Imagining like a fur coat or something on the Ultros now.
It's an interesting thought. Alright, here we go, making our way through.
Now this is some good divergence. We got Idiom going into Ice Palace, making his way through, with Big Dunka heading over to Pod.
Use that non-traditional setup for the Stalfos Knights. Picks up some magic refills before they head towards the infamous Ice Palace bomb jump. Now, if you use a sword setup, that's one thing that's going to set you off, but it looks like Etienne uses a different setup than a sword.
That is why I love playing short characters, because seeing that shadow is so much easier.
I personally play a Link sprite, so I just use a hat setup.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really nice one too.
That is until that in development Geno sprite comes to be a thing. And shoutouts to those of you out there that are making these awesome sprites that we get to play.
Oh yeah, shoutouts to the entire community, because not only do we get to see this awesome race here on Speed Gaming, but we get to play an awesome game. So developers, sprite makers, hosters alike, thank you all. This is just a wonderful thing.
It was posted about 3 weeks ago, and they mentioned they kind of slacked on it a while back, but nothing for a while. And then as we were waxing poetically about sprites, we missed Big Dunga pick up the big key for Total Rock here in Pod.
Ooh.
There's nothing really of note has come up in Ice Palace as of yet, but this will be a completable crystal.
Yeah, so far just a frozen burrito for Skull Woods.
Alright, and here we're gonna get to see that potion glitch executed by Big Dunka here. I would imagine, as we're gonna find out that there is a unique item in Desert. Thanks for a reminder.
What? Oh, and I think that's our last key for Pod.
Alright, so he goes ahead and bonks the door open as he uses a non-traditional setup for the potion glitch.
Ah, he got it though.
I have not seen that setup before. That is interesting.
Silly idiom. Big chests require big keys.
That that muscle memory is certainly something, another big 20 there. And we get the half magic there.
Ooh, that is nice. If you want to talk convenience, that is perfect.
Alright, so with that, Big Dunka burned their key on the front door. Did they have their 6th key? I suppose that they must be able to hammer yump.
I think so.
So they don't have the 6th key, so yeah, that's set up for a hammer. Oh, no.
Oh.
Gonna bomb the wall. They're probably gonna go through, they're gonna check this right side, go through Hellway, come back over and hammer yump.
Well, thankfully we found the last Pod small key over in Ice Palace, so if he doesn't do
they're
it...
going to Orphan. And speaking of big keys, there's the big key to Ice Palace. If that Ice Palace big chest has something of note, this routing could come up big for Big Dunka. Also note the shovel turning up in the Palace of Darkness. As we get the Uncle Bombs there. And now we get our fight with Hammer Cold Stare, which would have been also been made easier by the half magic that Big Dunka found. Alright, here we go, hammer yumping.
Ooh, just a little bit too far north.
They hesitated on their setup at the last moment there. And that's one of the puffs dispatched. Thankfully, they do have the blue mails. They can take a few more of these hugs from these comfortable puffs. There's the hammer yump for him, just to get 3 bombs.
And we'll see what we got on the backside, y'all.
As Death to Cold Stare gives us the Ice Rod.
Ooh hoo hoo. That's a tad poetic.
It's almost as if it would have made more sense if the Ice Rod was in here in the first place. As we get 10 sticks. We do apologize that the tracker is a little bit slower than it usually is tonight.
Tracking mechanism, mind you.
Now, here's an unfortunate thing where Big Dunk is heading back towards the Helmosaur King, and they're about to find out a reminder that you still need a bow, sir.
Which I think he just remembered.
Yes, indeed. Like, oh wait, never mind. So right now, we find ourselves looking for the bow. At this point, what shouts to me is we still have a couple items left in Turtle Rock.
Oh, so vanilla location of bow on Laser Bridge?
Sure, we'll go with that. And at this point, there are not many locations left on this map. We've already checked both Agate Towers, and then here's one location we had not yet visited. Big Dunk is going to go ahead and pick up that big red bomb.
Oh, and one thing to point out real quick, that hint earlier about the unique item behind the Keysanity. The progressive mail that we found in Turtle Rock is not a unique item, so that means it's still out there.
And at this point, Trinex is a location that is behind the King of Samaria, as well as the right side of TT. So we're on the hunt for that flute. But the bow is the biggest little thing that is locking out 2 crystals at this point. And our access to Ganon's tower. And those Gibdos not playing nice for Etium. And there we have the bow in the Pyramid Fairy. So with that, Big Dunk, I can head back and take care of that Pod Eastern combo we all know and love.
I didn't get that.
You be quiet. My technology is fighting back this evening.
Alexa, play death metal.
Don't be trolling our viewers' technology now. I'll put you back in the corner. All right, just go ahead and hammer it. Whoever thought we'd find ourselves trying to kill a moth with a hammer? Just don't put a hole in the drywall. All that for the compass. Right,
Gotta love it.
Alright, so Duncan's gonna go ahead on back and take care of the Helmosaur King. I'm gonna head on over towards the Armos Knights, two locations we had not access to until recently. At this point, the only thing we're looking for no mode is the exact location. I mean, at this point, we kind of know where everything is except for the Ether Medallion if it comes up required. We knew that the flute is somewhere locked behind the Cane of Samaria. So at this point, although I guess the only thing that we're truly missing now is the Hera small key, which is locking the Ganon's Tower big key behind that coffee break.
Yep.
So it's the only item that's truly eluding our knowledge at this point.
So I'm just going to throw an open bet there and say it's going to be in Tile Room.
I don't know if that's possible.
Well, the Ganon's Tower big key is only necessary to complete Ganon's Tower itself, so you can actually get there with the 7 crystals.
The only reason I mention that, because Hera is a crystal, and typically the key logic requires that the game requires you to have all the keys to complete a dungeon.
That is true.
Unless Hera is considered an extra case, like Thieves' Town. Like, if it's just a single key dungeon, if it's a single key that locks a single item, is that part of the logic? Does the logic take that into account? That's more of a greater question that I don't have the answer to. But it's something to kind of keep in mind, depending on where that Hera small key turns up. And there aren't many locations. Like, the big one that's calling out to me at this point is there's a lot of stuff in the there's a laser bridge to take care of yet.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, we're just about to put the final skewer here into the Helmasaur King on Big Dunkus' side.
And our dino is toast.
That's an unfortunate fall in for Etium, and that's just a piece of heart from the Helmasaur King. Well, that's one way to get to that crystal switch.
The wonderful camera adjustment.
I can't help but wonder if mirroring wasn't maybe just a touch faster.
Nah.
And here we are with our second visit to Eastern Palace. All we have left to check here is what is on the Armos Knights. So it really comes down to now, where is that Hera small key? And is the flute in Turtle Rock, or is it on the right side of GT?
Honestly, from the way things have been placed, I'm gonna bet it's gonna be in GT.
Now what the worst scenario I see happening is the basement of GT has the flute early, and then you need Ether to open up Mire, and somebody mirrors out after finding the flute.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Let's go ahead and see if we can get just a slightly more cooperative Moldorm for Etium's side, as Big Dunk is making their way back toward the Armos Knights. And chat keeping us to check, as we still have not seen what is buried in the flute spot in this game. We did find that shovel in the Palace of Darkness. Though, Chad, I do see perhaps if you feel behind, maybe you try to mirror out and hope for no ether. Just now, playing the devil's advocate of crappy scenarios. Alright, and there's the end of the Eastern Palace there. Now it looks like a trip to Turtle Rock is probably where we're heading up to. But Big Dunka really needs to go to Ice Palace first, which I'd imagine is probably higher on their list, so they can get that ice rod from Cold Stare. And Chad bringing up a good point. Since Etium is picking up this big red bomb, they're gonna go ahead and be able to just one-shot the Palace of Darkness without having to do any glitches or wraparounds. That'll give a little bit more time back to Etium. I mean, our runners are pretty close. With Ice Palace and Palace of Darkness coming in similar amounts of time, though I think you give a slight edge to Etium as they only have to make one visit, where Big Dunka chose to get the bow afterward. Nobody has grabbed the Ganon's Tower Big Key yet, because we do not yet have the Tower of Hera Small, which is locking that Big Key away. And go through it. So what got us here? Well, first off, we used Sahasrabot to roll us a new seed, a random seed. And tonight, the bot chose for us Swordless All Dungeon Keysanity. So that's why we're just going ahead and hammering everything all through. Big key moments in the seed would have to hearken to the fact that the magic mirror was in Spike Cave, which Etium found early, but was later revealed to Big Dunka in a hint in Thieves Town. The other big crux of an item find was Big Dunka finding the fire rod on the right side of Desert just a little bit sooner, however, with just the bow here coming up in Pyramid Fairy, and Etium choosing to check it first may have saved them out just a few seconds on this, as they will not have to re-dip the Palace of Darkness to take care of the boss.
Definitely a good choice.
Especially since Big Dunka did make the mistake of going there twice. Or of going towards the boss, realizing they did not have the bow. However, Big Dunka electing not to go for the Ice Palace bomb jump, as they do own the big key and both smalls. So routing here is just that bomb jump not nearly as necessitated as it normally would be, given their key count.
Now this will be quite interesting to see who's going to find the progression, because we've already cleared out Eastern and Pod for Big Dunka here. Ice Palace has already been cleared out for Idiom, so we know what to expect. And honestly, I think it's going to boil down to whoever goes to Turtle Rock first.
I guess the big crux here is, what will Big Dunka find in the Ice Palace big chest? If that's the Hera Small, huge advantage for Dunka. If it's nothing, you gotta kind of give a slight edge to Etium. But that's, I think, right now, as far as who gets to beyond who gets to Turtle Rock first, that's gonna be the potential biggest difference maker that I see in this seed right now. There's definitely time to be made for either direction, and of course, Ganon's tower routing could come into play.
Ooh, now the plus here is that Big Dunka has the Ice Palace big key. Idiom did not, so this is something good. Nah, just money.
Fortunately, just $20. So there goes the intrigue of that play. So now it'll come down to where in Turtle Rock is either the flute, or is it just not what we need?
Now, I'd say if the seed wants to be nice, it'll give us the flute on Trinex, and then the Tower of Hera Small Key on Laser Bridge.
That's something that could definitely come into play, because that would prevent... If that's the case, that means we could just completely bypass the basement of Ganon's Tower.
Yep, just bulldoze right up to Aghanim 2 and do the deed that needs to be done.
Unfortunately, Etienne missing one of those shots for the Armo setup, so they're going to have to... That one's going to get a health refill for just $1. And Recidador does bring up a good point. We are still playing Swordless, so if the silvers don't turn up, I'd imagine maybe the basement doesn't get skipped.
Oh, that's true, because even though you can do hammer Ganon without the silvers, it is so insanely difficult. I mean, it's quite literally to the point where you're going to see menuing almost through the entire match.
And this gives you wonder if it's even worth it, unless you really just want to dip for the hint itself. But at this point, it pretty much would have to turn up in the tower, unless it's like locked in like the Swamp Palace big chest, which is definitely a thing.
That is
Silver's not
true.
required for Swordless, but boy, do you want them.
Oh yeah. Unless you are extremely well versed in beating Hammer Ganon, you spend less time hunting down the silvers than you do doing a silverless Ganon fight.
That's, of course, you know, that could be, like I said, in the Swamp Palace big chest, and the key is in the basement of GT somewhere, and you didn't grab it. The first chest of pod was the TR big key.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and make our way towards Turtle Rock on Big Dunca's side while Etienne is clearing through the tower, or the Palace of Darkness. Alright, climbing our way up to the Rock of Turtles, or the Mario Dungeon, depending on how you look at it. Here comes the half magic for Etienne, which they really would have loved for that cold stare fight they did a little while ago. But they made it through without, so who needs it? And there we have the shovel, which is a location that has gone orphaned by Big Dunka, which could be holding on to that Hera small key. Or worse yet, you just, Swamp Palace big key into Hera small. Because that's gross. Easy miss. There we go. Alright, so looking at us now, we've got ourselves here 7 checks left here in Turtle Rock. Laser Bridge has to have something for us, right? Alright, gonna go ahead and clear ourselves through the Harmless Hellway, get the Uncle Bombs. Big Dunga heading on through the rest of Turtle Rock here. Go ahead and bomb their way out of this eye room. Hopefully they remember that hint and don't go to Mimic Cave where there's just a map they don't need. And then walking right on past. Now our first check of the big chest in here at just $50. Moving on further on, we're going to roll on our way back to Crystal Roller Room. So at this point you would give a slight edge in speed to Etienne. However, a divergence could cause a difference in that. Say the right side of GT is where all the items are, but Big Dunka goes full left. And of course there is that that other thing hanging out there of the shovel, the dig spot, not have been checked by either of our runners at this point. Etienne just got their shovel, and Big Duncan chose to walk on past it after having cleared the Palace of Darkness, Eastern Palace, and Ice. And I would have to agree with Recidador here that we do have that hint about the flute being on behind the cane. If it's not on Trinex, it's gotta be right side GT. Alright, we've got 4 items to check here.
Let's see what we got.
Start us off with a piece of heart. 3 bombs. The Ether Medallion, so no having to worry about getting into the door of Misery Mire. And the red mail.
Not too bad, just not exactly what we were hoping for.
And it's going to make the rest of this game a little bit safer, though they are on quite a large heart count. But so you can thank Keysanity for that. It's causing us to check more things than we normally would. Alright, so the moment of truth, is this the location that is behind the cane that is where the flute has been hiding all of this game? Just that the carrot dangled in front of us by that hint system. As Etienne is going to make their way into the fight with the King of all Helmosaurs. We have 3 necks on the left side of your screen to take care of now. So far, so good. Switching between the hammer there and the ice rod. Unfortunately, not able to stop that ice floor from being created. Did stop it a second time, though. So how does... Someone asked in chat, how does Keysanity work? Well, not only have we shuffled the items, but we've also shuffled the keys in and out of their dungeons. As well as the maps and compasses. The logic takes into account where these items could be, as Big Duncan is losing a little bit of control here of Trinex. I really disagree with the ice rodding their video game. That was rather rude.
This game is perfect and flawless in all its coding.
I mean, for its age, it was pretty well programmed, and now we've had nigh on 30 years to pull it apart.
And to be fair, this is 1.0 that we're using, so...
Which, you know, the American release and later Japanese releases did see some of the bugs fixed. And there we have the flute on Trinex, as well as another pendant.
Ta-da!
Now it comes down to, where is that Tower of Hera small key? Etienne striking the earth, and I think that's a Misery Mire key. That's time that if that was the Hera big key, the Hera small key, this game flips on its head. At this point, for Etienne, it's looking kind of grim. Now, I definitely agree here with fighting the flute. Going ahead and beelining for Misery Mire, I think, is the optimal play. Because we already know via the hint system that the Firelock site is dead, so that saves us a little bit of time. Not only that, but this means that after we take care of Ganon, or after we take care of Aga 2, we're just on the pyramid, we mirror, take care of Aga 1, and put the end to the big pig. And with that, the duck is mucking. Imagine we're going to go ahead and walk on over to Misery Mire.
Oh yes. Now this is the nice thing about going over to this area here. Not only do we get the Mire Shed, the Checkerboard Cave, and Mire itself, well, we get all that. Oh, I think he's going to go ahead and check the dig spot first, though.
I mean, I definitely can't blame him. It's just a quick flute over to and a walk. That's the Tower of Hera's key. That hurts. And it is a small key, but not the one that they're looking for. It's more of a junk key. Well, Etienne is going to make their way back into Turtle Rock, clear through, find the flute on Trinex. And I mean, the routing doesn't feel too bad. I think the main time difference is just a little bit of overworld checks, really.
Very true, very true.
Is that did Big Dunka turn in the purple chest?
I don't think he did.
And beyond that, the other time difference is just a couple early overworld deaths by Etium is kind of coming back to bite them here. But imagine they have to wonder how if Etium would feel behind or not, depending on things. And there's a small key to Skull Woods and 10 sticks. Every small key just feels so hype, but it turns out to be not.
Well, at least we know that the more small keys we get, the closer we are to getting the correct one.
And we're kind of running out of smalls at this point. There's still, I think, and there's still at least a Skull Woods key at large.
Oof. Just twist that dagger game, come on.
Did I just summon that key? Alright, here we go into the entrance of Misery Mire now. No birds to be tossed this time. It's now time for a Quake Medallion.
Aww, no burb toss.
Just an earthquake that somehow stops a thunderstorm. I suppose the chat is correct that there are some GT smalls still at large, so with the count we have, I think we're just about taken care of. Second Castle Tower key was, I believe, just found there in, wait, no, where was that? Somewhere both runners went to.
I think it was Swamp.
No, I think you're right on that one.
Because I know Big Dunka has already checked out the 2 chests where Itium hasn't.
All right, and there's a piece of heart in the big chest there. Well executed laser skip so far by Etium there. But they do have the cape if they choose to use it.
It does take a decent amount of skill, I gotta tell you. And that does confirm that Itium either only has the one small key to Castle Tower, or he's already opened the door. And we just forgot about it.
He opened both doors.
Ah, okay.
Or
Then
the
we're
one
good.
door. He opened the one door. He was the only one that checked both chests in there.
Oh, okay, that's right. It was Big Dunka that only checked the front chest, where Itium checked both.
Yeah, because Dunka checked that with the escape sequence. Etium waited until they had both keys. Or one key. And I forget where that hint was that told them that these 2 checks were worthless.
I want to say that one was in Pod?
For those asking in chat, we do know where the GT big key is. It is in the Hera basement, which we have not found the small key for. So it's the Hera small key at large that we're looking for. There we go. There's the final fire rod shot that'll put the end of that ice head. Alright, there's 3 bombs in that check. So unless it comes up on... No, there's still a couple checks here left. Alright, that's the end of Trinex for Etium. They'll get their flute.
And let's see if he moseys over to Ganon's tower, or if he goes elsewhere.
I mean, maybe if you feel behind, you go to GT, which maybe Etium does with those early overworld deaths. But the higher percentage play is to go to Meyer first, because it'll save you some time. If it's if the Hera small key turns up in here, that saves you time because you no longer have to hunt. That way you can just go mode Meyer.
Exactly. Now, that's a better question, is which is easier for you? Do you go mode Meyer, or do you go mode GT?
It really just depends on where does this final small key. I would agree there. I mean, I guess that's right. I guess it was a poor choice of words when I said higher percentage. The better feeling route is probably the way I should have worded that point.
Yeah, no one really wants to double dip any dungeon, and basically backtracking is not a fun thing.
Yeah. And there's the Cane of Burna. I just seem to elect to pick that up at this point in the game, where it's not going to really help you in the Ganon fight. I definitely can't say that either of these plays are not necessarily wrong. There are definitely more things that could be found here in the in Ganon's Tower, but the Hera small key turns up on Vitreous. It's one thing. That's the small key to Ganon's Tower. There's the 17th heart for Etium.
And the Riot Shield.
Oh boy. Now there is one nice thing to being swordless. Swinging the hammer doesn't activate those statues.
I was just about to comment on that.
Though dashing still does, interestingly enough. And here we see hammer strats on those eyeballs. Or bomb strats, excuse me. I know the difference between items.
Yeah, they're both collectibles.
Nice little bit of NMG boomerang throwing. Using those bombs to soften those up. Fortunately, didn't get it that time.
Oh, almost got it on that one. But he's just gonna go with the norm. Canis Maria, boom.
Go for the safe strats, not the speed ones. Unfortunately, getting trolled there. And as we find out what is on Vitreous, it is the small key to the Tower of Hera. And with that, at 2 hours, 2 minutes, Big Dunka finds himself in go mode.
That is nuts.
And then, unfortunately, just about puts the nail in Etium's coffin for winning this race.
Now, the plus here is if Itium finds the silver arrows down here in the basement, it's going to make his Ganon fight so much easier.
And it'll also make the not to discount that Vitreous fight. There's the silvers right there.
So yeah, Vitreous is going to be so much easier. Ganon is going to be that much easier. If Big Dunka decides to go mode GT, then he's going to have himself a good 5-minute fight with Ganon versus Itium's 2.
Well, it comes down to how confident are you, Big Dunka, in that silverless hammer Ganon? Though this does bring confirmation to the fact that the Tower of Hera small key is not accounted for in the key logic for completion. Or is it? More
that is a good
must
question.
Be done. I thought for some reason I had it in GT in my head. This kind of makes me wonder about how key logic set works out. Is it possible for the key logic to have placed that small key in GT? I'm gonna have to ask some questions.
Sounds good.
Alright, so what is back here? Heart piece, bombs, $20. I mean, the slag net's still at large, right?
That actually was just found in Bob's chest.
Oh, darn. So Etium's about to clear the right side of GT. We're disappointed they don't find that Hera small. So what is Big Dunka? No, Big Dunka's gonna go ahead and pick up their GT Big Key, and it comes down to what do they do next? Good to note. It's an interesting little wrinkle of key logic. As we get the $5, $20, heart piece, and $20 for Etienne. I'm going to pick up their small key here and leave. Oh, they're going to go ahead
And
go ahead and check tile room.
Oh, poor Idiom.
And there we have it, the big key for Ganon's tower for Big Dunka. Now all they have to do is walk outside, grab their mirror portal, and walk up the stairs and just head straight up to the top of the tower. All that's left for Big Dunka now is to take care of 2 wizards and a big pig. Sounds like an interesting plot.
Sounds like a Disney film.
But it looks like Big Dunka is going to go ahead and swerve for that. Go ahead and try to find those silver arrows.
Yeah, that's a safe play. It really is.
Unless you're feeling super confident in that really awful sounding fight.
Yeah.
I'd like to see if someone like maybe Willard could handle that. Because I know they have quite a bit of practice in the Swordless.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he could do it. The better question is, would he want to?
Interesting questions to ponder for another time. But there's the flute activation for Etienne. They're going to go ahead and float their way around now. We do see a right side routing here for Big Dunka.
Ooh.
So if Etienne decides... And they're going to clear a bit. Hopefully they remember that the hint about the Firelock side being useless to gain a little bit of time back. But at this point, I don't know if it's enough.
Honestly, wait, what? What?
Etienne is going for the Ice Palace big chest, and that's not what they need to be doing.
No.
Or no, wait, no, they need ammo.
Oh yeah, he's buying arrows. Oh, thank God.
He needs ammo. Now I don't disagree with what he's doing so much because he needs arrows for Vitreous.
Good smart play. Good play. Yeah, it looks like Big Dunka was doing the Dark Magician strats, found the compass chest to have nothing, and it's like, nope, going back to the left side.
So I'm going to get the checks of the Meyer area. Does get that small execution of getting that blue boomerang over there.
Yes, this is exactly how it's supposed to look.
Indeed.
Of course, every small key has to jabate poor Idiom.
Alright, and here we are, Big Dunka heading into the randomizer room, where the silver arrows are hiding. Then it's just a tower climb between them and 2 wizards and a big pig.
And here we go.
Two Winters and a Big Pig. It sounds like some kind of LARP county fair. When the Renaissance Festival and the State Fair collide.
I have a feeling that's something that definitely would happen in the state of Alabama.
There he goes, throwing Alabama under the bus.
Hey, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm allowed to diss the South.
If you say so. Hot takes here on Speed Gaming 3.
Yeah.
Regional differences come up hot.
It's just like the weather.
Hey, we are tailing towards the end of the summer. School's
Thank
even
God.
started in some places in some parts of the country. As we make our way towards the end of this seed here.
Ooh, going with the fire rod strats. Nice.
I definitely not disagreeing. You're gonna absolutely pick up every big magic decanter you can find.
And good idiom is remembering that hint about left side Meyer having just that bottle and heart container.
And so we'll go ahead and be able to check the big chest here and the I guess that's the map chest.
Yeah, it's honestly been so long since I played an MG, I can't remember half the stuff.
Because I remember that particular chest burned me in a multi-world. So here we go with land mode 2 for Big Dunka. Having a better, we'd hopefully have a little bit better of a time with this than his first attempt. However, just the silver shots are not cooperating for him. Take note, they are down to 9 arrows, so I think they're going to grab a 5 stack here and feel a little bit better.
Even though only 4 are necessary to beat that big pig, it's good to have some backups.
Not only that, but it's just better for taking care of some of the more obnoxious enemies on the top side of the map here.
Now, I'm trying to remember, we saw that Idiom got the bug net, but did Big Dunka? Because I don't think he went to Bob's chest.
No, he wouldn't have made it to Bob's chest.
Yeah. So that's another fun thing, as everyone is about to see. Hammer Aghanim is a pain in the patootie. This is where...
see some demonstrations of some spooky actions on Etium's side.
Oh, that's cool. I missed it. It's super spooky.
You know, Ancilla and levels and...
Ooh.
One of these days, I'm gonna actually be able to explain that glitch to chat someday.
Until
Anyway,
then,
here comes a much faster Vitreous fight on the right side of your screen.
Oh no, I sneezed. What happened?
A bunch of eyeballs exploded because Zelda.
There's Idiom's
Right a
Tower
boss
of
idea,
Harris
guys. What do you do? A giant pile of eyeballs.
I think that comes up in every Zelda meeting.
This won't be a meme. The fact that everything's got a weak eyeball. No.
Definitely not.
Wait, what's a meme? It's 1991. What does that mean? The ever-evolving language that is English. So it's not really a language, but like 8 languages wearing a trench coat.
Yeah, it's 8 languages wearing a trench coat that, you meet in a dark alley, shanking other languages, adding more to it. It's ever-growing amalgamation.
English is Legion. Confirmed.
Now here's a fun little tidbit. I need to remember the exact year, but meme is actually older than the aughts. It was originally coined, I believe, in the 60s. as a shortened version of memory or memorized, something to that effect. Basically meaning a pop culture reference.
Aha! Big Dunka is having is making decent work of this Hammer Aga fight, as I curse them.
See, this is where the bug net would be so much better. Now I'm waiting for the day that Sisralabot decides to go ahead and give these poor guys an Inimizer seed and put the Agonim's bouncy ball effect in there, because it does the same thing that Ganondorf does in Ocarina of Time. So you actually get to bounce them back and forth.
Wait, that's a thing?
That is indeed a thing.
I have never heard of that.
It is an evil, evil, godforsaken thing.
But it sounds fun, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of need to look up that option now. For those of you asking in chat, yes, there are quite a few off-stream runners. However, I'm not going to call out any finishes until we get a finish on stream here. There are 29 entrants in this race tonight. And we are getting close to that finish, as Big Dunka is going ahead and making their way up Aga's Tower. All they have to do is take care of this first wizard, which is their second wizard, and then they'll be off to their date with the king of all bacon.
See, this is where I gotta learn that song from The Lion King about the luau and just start humming that.
Oi. Yum, yum, yum.
He's a big pig.
I do enjoy the oi emote I just saw. Right,
oh, yes.
On. There's the Ganon's Tower big key for Etium, and I imagine they probably don't feel good. Alright, going ahead, and Big Dunka has a few more red guards to take care of. Misses that silver arrow shot, but yeah, that's actually something to keep of note. They're now down to 5 shots. All right, now there's an arrow stack, so there's 10. Actually, making their climb of Ganon's Tower now. Big Dunka just has to get through a narrow bridge here. And they're off to another date with a sorcerer. Anyone?
No. Mind of me, don't. You'll get me to sing.
No, the real question is, did they know that, or did they have to look it up?
Better question there would be, are they singing along?
I mean, it is the Lion King. Perhaps one of the greatest animated classics of all time.
Oh, heck yes.
And then, of course, turned into some live-action, quote-unquote live-action thing, but I digress. There's Zelda happening in front of us, and that's the first shot missed by Big Dunka because Hammer Aghanim sucks.
Yes, indeed it does.
There's another blue ball thrown in there for some taste as well. There's blue ball number 2. That full animation looks interesting from that sprite. There's another reflectable shot. As chat has broken out into numerous Lion Kings. It is glorious, and I do quite appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Lots of blue balls for Big Dunka's fight. We're just about done and on our way to a hammer fight with the King of All Bacon.
Don't worry, Chad, I won't sing anymore, it's fine.
Not like this. Alright, and with that, we've landed onto the pyramid. Now it is time for a date with the king of all bacon. Thanks for dropping in. First, the passengers of this hot air balloon were a duck, a sheep, and now a rooster.
Now we all get to see the amazement that is Hammerganon!
So it makes you, sometimes it makes you, depending on which setups you get, it makes you wish it was a thing. Because if you get this in the right corner, it just feels really good.
Oh yeah. You get that corner where he's like just barely below the lip, so that way you have enough to squeeze behind, and every time you hit him, it just like jettisons you to the right, but you just bam, bam, bam.
I think they gotta be careful. He's taking a few too many hits from those fire bats.
Oh yeah, that's the only problem right there, is when he gets stuck in the, like, when he gets so dang close to the wall that you can't do anything. You have to just either put on the cape and get in there, or just sit it out.
Unfortunately, there is no using the cape and getting in there. And here we are into phase 3 for Big Dunka. There's strike number 1. And if he just holds still... Ganon, alright, there's strike number 2. Here's hammer strike number 3. And strike number 4. Did you find the arrows in my tower? You bet we did, Ganon. It looks like Big Dunka really wants that torch glitch.
I don't blame him.
Alright, there is silver skewer number 1.
And I think he got number 2.
Was that a double?
Yeah, and that's is that another double? No, that was just a single.
That was a single. So I don't think that setup gives you props for a single. But with that, that is the final silver skewer in Ganon. And with that, just a 1x3 bridge is all that separates Big Dunka between him and the end of this seed. And a first place finish on our restream. However, with that finish, that puts Big Dunka finished in a 6th place finish overall of 29 runners at 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 8 seconds. Looking back on our finishers, first place goes to Zelka Desan with a time of 2:13.21. Goomba 90 finishing just behind them by 3 seconds. That's second place with 2:13.24. Zero Rush finishes in third place with 2:13.47. Salty Fry in at 2:14.53. Dracaris coming in 5th at 2:15.50.
And shout out to Goomba and his wonderful comment of, I dedicate the 2nd place finish to having no idea how to do Hammer Ganon.
And to come in only 3 seconds behind Zelga at that point. Good lord. So we will see if we can get Big Dunka in here for an interview. And it looks like they have joined us in the chat. Big Dunka, GG to you.
Oh, thank you. GG's, everybody.
So I guess the first question of all is, what'd you think of that?
It was exactly what you would expect it to be. That's, I mean, you're going to look in every chest for everything. Never even found the bug net.
It was just a few more checks in Ganon's tower.
Okay, yeah. I didn't need it. It
was in fact the next room.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Bob's
yeah,
chest.
That's fair. That works. Yeah, it's one of those. It's nice to have, but you know, it makes Aga 2 a lot easier.
Yeah,
now
definitely. I mean, it definitely gave you a good bit of go. I mean, overall, execution was very tight by you, I would say. I guess I should digress on that. Is it end by comparison and end up feeling a little bit better than Etium's overall?
Yeah, I didn't think I executed her very well. I had some brain gaffes in there. Had some pretty lousy routing too and a few things. Yeah, I've had better. A lot of bonks. I can't wait to see what my bonk count is. It's gonna be something ridiculous.
But that's not to say that your routing didn't end up coming that bad overall. I mean, it just the way things shook out, your routing came out a little bit better over Etium's. Though I will say, as we see that hint about the boots in Thieves Town, sorry, as
That was
Etium
beautiful.
shows disrespect to that. I will say though that the hint about the unique item in Spike Cave, kind of big to save you.
Yeah, there's actually two hints. That one helped a lot and one didn't. The hint for Spike Cave is huge. Mirror looked like it was screaming out there, even though Swamp was a complete dud. So that was really nice to have. The hint about the flute got me bad because I ended up triple dipping T-Rock because of it.
I mean, so did Etium.
Yeah, it's just too spicy to not do that. And then obviously, I was expecting it to be in GT because Meyer was going to be a pendant, and then there it is on Trinex. So you have to go do all of Meyer, which in the end ended up being good because obviously you need the hair.
Now there was a hint about the left side of Meyer. Did you see it or did you forget it?
No, I skipped 2 hints total in the game. And well, 3 actually. Sorry, I didn't go inside the one in Spectacle Rock for some reason in the beginning, and then
That's the one.
yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know why I skipped over that one. I went in there and looked at the ad and it's like, nah, whatever. I'm
Can
out.
I say shout outs to NetDash right now?
Oh yeah.
That is
Idiom's got the
outstanding.
Idiom's got the net from Bob's chest, and he is putting that to great use.
Ah,
Yeah, he's currently he's net dashing to play tennis with Aga 1. I'm amused. Did not know that was possible. So, been derailed there. Just give me 1 second. We'll look at there with Hitzion with a 7th place finish at 224.53. Relkin and 8th with 225.07. Shearer with 9th with 225.17. And Days Cloud at 10th with 226.55.
Oh, you guys beat Hitzian. I'm gonna have to tease him about that later.
I mean, overall, I mean, that's not to say. I mean, I think I would agree with Big Dungus' point where that flute hint kind of sets you up to do some routing. Then you have to think about, because the way the hint system's set up, where it has to work for every mode. Well, which one are we talking about here? I mean, what in Turtle Rock is actually locked behind the cane?
yeah. And there's only 4. So it's the 3 up front, and then Trinex, and then since it happens to be the flute, the only other place it could be was in GT. So at that point, you kind of figure it's gonna be one of those parts. I didn't know until late that Meyer was actually a pendant. I think I figured it out after 2/3 of the dungeons were done, and then by then it's like, oh well, yeah, now it can be definitely be inside of GT. So because we didn't know early on that it was a crystal or a pendant, it really drove you into TR to see if you can find it.
Now, I got a quick question for you, because I'm glad you did, because I personally hate doing it, but how confident are you doing Silverless Hammer Game?
No. It's not worth it. You can do it. I actually did get one in there in the Phase 4 transition, but it's frame perfect, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 2 frame perfect, and it's not worth it. You get the hint, and then you fall off the edge and you go get silvers.
Yep. Because I've done that. I at least attempted that once, then found out how difficult it was and said, nope.
Yeah, no, I've tested it, and I've gotten a few hits in, but it's just not worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess the big thing that this really came down to, I mean, your routing came up a little bit more superior over Etium's, and just that coin flip decision: is the small key in Meyer or is it in GT?
Yeah.
So I guess then, what led you towards the Meyer decision?
Needed to be done anyway. The last thing you want to do is to full clear GT and then leave, and then go to Meyer and full clear Meyer, and then go back to GT.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's just like, I think I agreed with Etium's play just as I feel this isn't good. If I want to get ahead in this race, I need to do something that is probably less than ideal.
And speaking of Idiom, we are in butt clinch mode with his 1 heart left and no post. Oh wait, he has a fairy.
He's a
Never mind.
fairy.
I didn't see that.
I could say I only called it out because it was on his menu. Alright, that's skewer number 2.
I'm gonna jump, guys. Thanks, everybody, as always.
Alright, thank you so much for
Hey, no
joining us,
problem.
Big Dunk, guys. That's skewer number 3 into the Big Pig. Going for an up hammer on this final hit, Brave Etium is. And there's the final skewer. Alright, and with that, it's just a 1x3 bridge that all that separates Etium from now and being done with this accursed seed.
And he makes it!
And Etium finishes in 13th place with a time of 2 hours, 30 minutes, and 12 seconds. Cleaning up some former finishes, the 11th place finish went to Sonicam at 2:29.31, and one up 40 finishes in 12th with 2:29.50. We should hopefully get Etium in here in an interview for just a moment, but while we do that in the meantime, the bot is down, so I can't really give you guys commands, but if you can find these guys on Twitch, I imagine their names are pretty close to what you see on screen. Give them a follow. Obviously, give a follow to the Speed Gaming Network channel, network of channels at Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6. Also, check out the language channels like Speed Gaming Deutsch, Speed Gaming Portuguese, and Speed Gaming Espanol, and who can forget Speed Gaming Francais. Check out speedgaming.org/schedule to see all the kinds of fun stuff that could be out there, and there's lots more of these. I mean, there's typically 2 daily races a day on the restream, unless of course one of the SG Live qualifiers, there's a few more of those coming up. I mean, give those a shout out, and also, tickets are available for SG Live this October in close to DC. And there's going to be live tournaments there, which the qualifiers are getting up for Link to the Past, Zelda Ocarina of Time Randomizer, Zelda 1, Metroid Combo, I believe, is on there as well. And those are cash prizes. And if you qualify high in Link to the Past, you can qualify for subsidized travel. So lots of fun stuff coming up on the Speed Gaming Network of channels, and here we have now been joined by Etium. GG's to you.
Hey, thanks.
So I guess, what do you think about this seed?
It was pretty bad. I mean, having to double dip GT, I think I 3 or 4 dip Turtle Rock. It was just, I went in there, and then I realized I didn't have the big key, so I couldn't do a bunch of stuff. And then I came back later because I knew that the flute was Samaria locked, and so I was hoping it would be on that right side, but no, it was on Trinax, of course. But I don't know. There was definitely parts of it that went pretty smoothly, and then parts of it that just... I think putting off Thieves Town definitely hurt me because that got me the boots, and there was something else important in there. I don't remember what, but putting off Thieves Town definitely hurt me a little bit.
I think it was boots and Titan's mitts.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And those mitts. But that's not to say that your opponent didn't. I mean, the person, Big Dunka, also made that 3 visit to Turtle Rock because really want that flute.
Looking at the finishing time, so nobody got sub 210. So that tells you what kind of a seed this was.
I guarantee I think at least everyone visited Turtle Rock twice. I would think.
Yeah, it's kind of hard not to.
They may not have gone a 3rd time. They may have just said, okay, the flute's got to be just either on Trinex or toward the end.
Yeah, I mean, it could also have been in GT, technically.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured it was on Trinax.
And definitely shout-outs to that Ganon fight. Going ahead and just fighting through the end of it on that single heart and not taking that final hit.
Yeah, well, I had a fairy, so it wasn't such a big deal.
I know it was safe, but it sure was fun to watch.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to play this tonight. If it was in entrance mode, I don't think I was going to play it. But this mode, I like all dungeon Keysanity. I've never done it swordless before.
I mean,
So
how much swordless practice have you done overall?
I've done a few swordless seeds, just never Keysanity swordless.
I mean, just adds another wrinkle, and then now at least the hammer was right there early. So there
Yeah,
wasn't too much fumbling around without it, but even still, it's
Yeah.
it's still the hammer.
yeah, it could have been a much tougher seed. I definitely my early game was not so good. I took like 2 or 3 overworld deaths, and that definitely cost me a few minutes.
And
So
that crab army of the South Shore is not to be trifled with.
yeah,
And then the Hoku, and then I will shout out your ability to navigate the hammer fight with the Hoku Boku in that tunnel before the Chain Chomp room.
oh yeah, that was annoying. I didn't even think about that before I went into Turtle Rock, and then I was like, oh, how am I going to kill this thing? I guess hammer, but yeah.
So the hammer does work out. Big Dunka ended up taking a death to that on the first trip home. Turns out you can actually it's 2. So the first 3 sections take 2 hits with a Kana Samaria block to break, and then the head takes 8. We learned. Just
Yeah,
watching
I
it
just went with
navigate it.
hammer.
Well, he had gotten sniped by the bouncing section multiple times. So it was an interesting little bit of strategy that we learned about that.
All right.
Now, any final comments before we send this broadcast off into that good night?
Not really. Just thanks to you guys for commentating. This must have been this was pretty grueling for me, so it must have been quite a thing to watch or to commentate. I mean, and track as well. So thanks to you guys.
Oh, it was definitely a lot of fun. I hadn't been in the booth for a while, so it was nice to get to a little bit of fun, and hopefully, I guess my last question is, what do you think of the random seed gen?
I've only played a couple of them. I think it's a really good idea. I think it's hilarious, actually. Yeah, I tried one that was like an entrance. So it was some kind of weird entrance mode, and I never finished it. I was just like, I got 2 hours in, and I didn't find the moon pearl, and I just gave up.
Such is the life of an entrance seed.
Yeah, but this seed definitely, I was like, okay, I can do this.
To be fair, if it took me 2 hours to find the moon pearl in any type of seed, I'd be like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
Then again, I have seen multi-rolls where people have gone 4 hours without it.
Oh, don't get me started on those.
Anyway, thank you so much, Etienne, for joining us, and GG's to you, and good luck on the rest of your races. We hope to see you around soon. With that, we'll head on in towards the end of the broadcast evening on this channel. Check out speedgaming.org/schedule if you want to see all the fun action that's hanging out here today. Looks like if you look at the schedule, that's the end of the broadcast evening. Looking towards tomorrow, we have some we have a standard race at 1 p.m. Or excuse me, at 2 p.m. I need to set my thing to Eastern time. As well as we will find us. We have the Link to the Past Randomizer qualifier race on the main channel at 8 p.m. and then immediately followed by the Ocarina of Time Randomizer qualifier race. As well as there's some more. There's actually 2 qualifiers for each being run tomorrow night, as well as some Magic the Gathering Arena standard, Link's Awakening Warpless. That should be fun to watch. And the Link's Awakening Warpless tournament does not yet have a channel. A few other things coming up this week: Diddy Kong Racing, Super Metroid DAB, which is double anti-bingo, which sounds like a thing. And just a few other more of those. It looks like if we look towards Saturday, we see some Super Ghosts and Ghouls tournament. So if you like tough platformers, that's up for grabs later. There's some Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight on Saturday as well. Lots of fun stuff coming up on the Speed Gaming network of channels. Please give our runners a follow. We posted up a little bit earlier, thanks to Mind Me, since the bot has fallen asleep. Please give a follow and shout out to Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna, my co-commentator, Semper Fire Dog, the tracker, and of course, all the Speed Gaming network of channels. I'm Bungie to the tree. Scruff Ninja, anything else to say?
Nah, I'm dumbfounded by this seed. Have a good night, everybody.
And with that, I'll tell you good night and good rando.